Goswami on The Debate.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome, and time now for the nation's sharpest opinion. And Donald Trump is just obsessed with India. He's obsessed. Twice a day he makes a comment on India. He's looking terrible when he does that. He's looking obsessed, he's looking depressed, and he's looking desperate. Ladies and gentlemen, this man has misplaced priorities. Instead of obsessing about India, he should be thinking about the looming debt crisis that he's going to turn his country to at 37 trillion US dollars. And he's going to take it to 43 or 45, believe me, very, very soon. Debt through the roof, the economy is tanking. Unable to handle the situation, he and Mr. Medvedev of Russia are having nuclear bombast on both sides. He thinks it's a game of chess. Medvedev says Trump should remember the walking dead. And Trump says, I'm going to be moving nuclear submarines into appropriate regions, trying to make it sound extremely threatening. But this is a childish game. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not interested about what's going on between Dmitry Medvedev and Donald Trump. Keep in mind, Putin doesn't even engage with Trump. He makes Medvedev engage with Trump. The reality is that Trump, who was once in love with Putin, can no longer handle Russia. He had said that he is going to end Russian aggression within 10 to 12 days. It's an absolute disaster, ladies and gentlemen. Through July, by the way, Russia has launched a record 6,443 drones and missiles into Ukraine. It's non-stop, these attacks. So Trump being unable to handle the situation, unable to handle Ukraine, unable to handle the situation in the Middle East, unable to handle Russia, he is incessantly and obsessively thinking about India. He's issued 4 threats to India in the last few days. July 30th, India will have to pay 25% tariff and penalty. July 31st, India and Russia have dead economies. August 4th, we will raise tariffs on India for selling Russian oil. August 5th, when we pretty much don't care and tell him, go to hell, we're not listening to you, he says, I will raise tariffs in the next 24 hours. You know what, Donald Trump, you're welcome. You're welcome. You should have seen the Indian Foreign Ministry's response. And I can personally say, as a proud Indian, that we are really super proud of the chilled out and cool way in which the Narendra Modi government is handling it. We've told, we should be proud of our Prime Minister. He's being so calm through this. He said, listen, we've been importing from Russia because traditional supplies are diverted to Europe. So secondly, he says this is energy security, not opportunism. He makes it clear, don't try and single us out. He points out, when I say he points out, means the Ministry of External Affairs points out that Europe and Russia have strong trade. The EU buys a range of goods from Russia, including fertilizers, chemicals, transport equipment. But most importantly, he calls out Donald Trump's hypocrisy. He says, you continue to import uranium, hexafluoride, palladium, fertilizers and chemicals from Russia. And then goes on to say, doesn't matter how many times you threaten us, we're going to work in our supreme national interest. Ladies and gentlemen, we should be so proud of what that statement was of the Indian Ministry of External Affairs. But I'm not saying this only because of the MEA statement. I'm saying this because if you should have heard what Narendra Modi said about Swadeshi in a recent rally just a few days back. Listen to this.
चीज भारत के लोगों द्वारा बनी है, भारत के लोगों के कौशल्य से बनी है, भारत के लोगों के पसीने से बनी है, हमारे लिए बहुत स्वदेशी है। हमें वोकल फॉर लोकल मंत्र को अपनाना होगा। हम संकल्प लें कि हम मेक इन इंडिया प्रोडक्ट्स को ही बढ़ावा देंगे। हमारे घर में जो भी नया सामान आएगा वो स्वदेशी ही होगा।
And for anyone watching this, whether you're watching this in the United States of America or in India or anywhere in the world, the government of India has been preparing for this kind of a situation. We don't want a trade war with America or any country. But our government for the last 11 years has been strengthening ourselves and preparing for a situation. This is what we are saying today. The confidence with which we are dealing with Trump's threats and not getting affected by it is because our government has been focused on Make in India and much, much more for the last 11 years. Like BrahMos, the missile was not built in a day. I can give you many, many examples. We have been building on this. We know that our global economic competitors will try to attack us, but we have made ourselves strong. In 24-25, 3 examples. Defense exports reached 15,000 plus crores from the private sector, 8,000 plus crores from DPSUs. That's Make in India. This year's budget saw 19,500 crore allocation for PLI, Production Linked Incentive Scheme. 33,500 crores have been pumped into strategic sectors, electronics, EV, semiconductor, telecom, and pharma. That's billions and billions and billions and tens of billions and hundreds of billions of US dollars. Ladies and gentlemen, what Donald Trump does not know is that India is a very powerful country and a very proud country. We are telling America, truly, we are a much bigger economy than Russia. We're a much bigger economy today than the United Kingdom. The fact is that the Americans have no leverage on us. Donald Trump can shout as much as he wants, threaten as much as he wants, but he does not have leverage on India. We're a rising economy, and that itself is a huge irritant for Trump. What is making a person like Trump angry and upset? The reality is because we are among the top 3 powers. Ladies and gentlemen, Goldman Sachs estimation. Of course, we'll be still much smaller by 2030, but we will be top 3. The gap between us and number 4 will be considerable. Now project that, ladies and gentlemen, to 2050. You see the gap reducing. India will be a $22.2 trillion economy. And this is not, in purchasing power parity terms, will be much bigger than China. And will be much bigger than the United States of America for sure. Will be top 2 economy by 2050. And by 2075, if you were to project that to 2075, ladies and gentlemen, the situation is going to completely and drastically change, where we will be a larger economy than the United States of America. So we are a top 3 power. We are going to be a top 3 power starting 2030. Maybe 2027, 28 to 2030. And then by 2075, we will be top 2. Why is Trump hurting? Trump is hurting because he is losing. That is the only inference we can draw. Trump is hurting because he knows he's not been able to shake India. And Trump is hurting because he's frustrated at many global levels. And his attempt to use India as a pivot to fight his losing battle with Putin is not going to work. So, ladies and gentlemen, Trump's got it terribly wrong. We're going to win this. Please circulate this everywhere you can, especially in the USA, so people there see sense and can put some pressure on their own president.
As you know, Prime Minister Modi is a friend of mine, but they don't do very much business.
And they are going to pay 25%.
Yeah.
That's a good step. We'll see what happens, okay?
Less than 48 hours remain to Trump's August 7th tariff deadline.
Well, I understand India no longer is going to be buying oil from Russia. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's a good step. We'll see what happens, okay?
Trump is upping the ante on India purchasing oil from Russia, now even threatening to raise the tariff over the existing 25% and the 10% penalty.
Our ties with any country, or all the ties that we have with various countries, they stand on their own merit, and they should not be seen from the prism of a third country.
India now has had enough, and the gloves are off. The niceties have been dropped from a pragmatic reality check. In a stern reply to both the EU and the US over their virtue signalling, India held the mirror for the two to bask in their own hypocrisy. From the nearly 300% jump in EU-Russia bilateral trade in the last 2 years, totaling to 67.5 billion euros, to its climbing imports from Russia, reaching a record high of 16.5 million tons, India's reply was unsparing, even reminding the Americans of their own words.
Actually, they bought Russian oil because we wanted somebody to buy Russian oil at a price cap. That was not a violation or anything. It was actually the design of the policy, because as a commodity, we didn't want oil prices going up, and they fulfilled that.
Not just on Russian oil. The Indian Army's Eastern Command today too set the record straight on India's strategic imports from Russia. The Eastern Command posted a news cutting dated August 5th, 1971. The headline read, US arms worth $2 billion shipped to Pakistan since '54. The Eastern Command captioned the post, "This day, that year," with a clear message. #known facts. The message from New Delhi is as clear as it gets. There will be no compromise on national interest. And if Washington would like to forget history, like a good ally, India will oblige with a timely reminder.
For an India view, we have very respected Mohandas Pai, chairman of Aryan Capital, live from Bengaluru. For a China view, we have Victor Gao, vice president of the Center for China and Globalization, live from Singapore. For a Russia view, we have Tatiana Kukareva, senior journalist, live from Moscow. We have Trump's pro-Trump voices, Richie Greenberg, political commentator, former Republican mayoral candidate, supports Donald Trump. Pastor Mark Burns, of course, walked out of my show last time, unfortunately, spiritual advisor to President Trump. And St. Alexander Shajan is GOP grassroots strategist, hardcore Republican from Atlanta. I thank you all, gentlemen. Now, I want to start with you, Mohandas Pai here. How do you see this playing out now? What does Trump want? What can he get? He's issued one more threat today. He says, tomorrow I'm going to raise tariffs. What is he saying?
I think, Arnab, President Trump is doing what he likes doing best, negotiating, creating hardline positions, threatening nations, putting the pressure on them to come down to what he wants. And he's had his way with Japan, he's had his way with EU. India has been negotiating with the US for a long period of time. We are one of the few first countries to negotiate. And now he has a model whereby he has told the major economies, for the privilege of exporting to the United States, you have to pay the US 15%. Then you have to open up your market to zero tariff for American companies to get into your markets with a small list possibly of exclusions which you can negotiate with President Trump. And that is his position. And he's not going to budge from that for anybody. And he's prepared to take his chances. And when you do not come down to what President Trump wants, he's going to threaten you, he's going to negotiate with you, he's going to pile pressure on you. And India has just now said that the negotiations are continuing. Now we're getting threatened with penalty and higher tariffs for importing oil from Russia. The import of oil from Russia is just the existing policy that the West had, the OECD, that the Europeans had, to make sure that the world supply was in balance. Because tomorrow India stops Russian oil, then the world price will go up, because whatever large part of the Russian oil that we import is exported to Europe. India is a large exporter. For example, 2 years ago, we imported 200 billion and exported $80 billion. We have huge surplus capacity for refining, and most of it goes to Europe. If you look at the exports to Netherlands, it happens to be the gateway to Europe, we see a large play. So India stops Russian oil, price will go up, and the impact on the American consumer will be the highest, because inflation is going up, interest rates are high. Now fuel charges have come down for Americans, which is very good. And if fuel charges goes up, the inflation rate will go up. And Powell is not reducing interest rates because he feels the increase in inflation due to the tariffs will be felt in the next 2 or 3 months. He's been holding on. And President Trump has promised everybody that he's going to stop the Ukraine-Russian war, and that's not going forward because President Putin will not bend down to any threat anywhere. Russia has never bent down to any threat by any country throughout its history.
Correct.
It stood up to Napoleon and saved Europe.
Yeah,
it
but
stood up
I
to
think
Hitler and saved the Allies in the Second World War. They lost 20 million people in the Second World War and beat back Hitler and the Nazis. So you must remember they're a very proud country, and I think we must negotiate with Putin. But President Trump is taking a hard line.
Okay.
And I think they have to come and talk. So I think this is part of his tactics. So we have to see.
So among the important things said there,
not make comments.
among the important things that come out of what Mohandas Pai says, I want to go to you, Richie Greenberg, is that what Trump has not factored in is the size and power of India. If we stop buying Russian oil, then, fuel in America is going to become very expensive. It's going to get very difficult for Americans. And America was very happy that we were buying Russian oil because it kept the prices down. So, I think it's bad economics overall. But Richie, would you like to respond here?
Yes. So first, thank you for having me on today. We need to go take a step back and look at Donald Trump and see who he is, how he negotiates. His book going back decades, in negotiating, right? How to deal with business. He's a businessman. He loves to push buttons. He loves to make people upset, if you want to say that. That is his tactic. That's his way of doing business. His diplomacy is all based on forcing people to get together and to negotiate. That's what this is all about. Now, I agree, unfortunately, there are times when his mannerism, his demeanor is a bit brash, but that is who he is. Many of us like his tactics, the way he forces people to come together and to speak and to come out with an agreement. Now, what that is doing here in the specific case with India, I understand the concern. I understand also that you've got two countries, India and the United States, both right now are in America first, India first posture and stance. And that is what is making this pretty difficult, whether it has to do with the initial threats of the tariffs, 25% on imported Indian goods, automobile parts and pharmaceuticals and technology in the future. That is a problem in itself. Now, adding the second issue with the punitive tariffs, and we don't even know what that's exactly going to be. We'll see very shortly, dealing with the oil and Russia. That is a very irritating point, we know, on all sides, to Russia, America, and India. So we're going to see, I'm watching very careful to see what's going to come out of that. But again, this is how Trump works. He's a businessman first,
I agree.
And he's trying to push everybody to the negotiating table.
I agree, but the point being here, I'll keep it brief. In that case, Trump should first say that America will stop trade with Russia. But America is increasing trade with Russia. America is increasing business with Russia. What did India do, Richie? India, in a public statement, exposed America. We named all the products you are silently trading with. You are trading with. Why is Trump angry? Because India said, look here, you are using Russian uranium hexafluoride. It's not American. You're sending your people and you're buying Russian uranium hexafluoride. You're buying billions worth of Russian palladium, Russian fertilizers, and Russian chemicals.
Now, also,
you are increasing. My point is, you are increasing your trade with Russia. No, 1 minute. You are increasing your trade with Russia.
5 minutes.
No, you are increasing your trade with Russia, aren't you?
Before Trump was even president. Again, now Trump has only been in since the end of January. So a lot of that factors in is before. This is when the Democrats were in power. This is when
No, but it's still going on. You can stop it.
So this is another issue.
The imports, the silent imports from Russia by America are continuing. Ande Tatiana, you want to come in? Isn't that a reality?
Of course. No, Arnab, you're completely right. And I think that we're missing the point here. The point is not politics, the point is money. Trump wants to sell American oil. He's been wanting to sell American liquefied gas to Europe for, and he's been doing everything he can to sell more American. Yes, it is America first. And it's not about, I'm afraid to say it, but I don't believe for a single second that anything he says about the war, about stopping the bloodshed and everything, it has nothing to do with the people dying in Ukraine. It has nothing to do with wanting to do anything for Ukraine. Right now, he is playing hardball, and I do agree with the previous speaker that he is first and foremost a businessman. He's used to tough negotiations. He is negotiating from a position where he forces you, he slams something ridiculous on you so that you will back to a point where he wants to meet you afterwards. That's a very, that negotiation tactic is in all of the business books. You can read any of them,
including his own book that he wrote. Yes, including his own
yes,
book.
It is. I've actually read his book. I'm obsessed as a news person. I love Donald Trump. He creates so much for the media. I believe the media has, although he's kind of ruined the media world because all of the journalistic standards went to the crapper, pardon my French, but he does create so much attention, so much media hype. And it's also, this comes from him being not from the world of politics, but from the world of business. So I believe that in his own world, he's not trying to kind of sink the market. He believes that he can replace in some way Russian oil with American one. He doesn't want for the prices to go sky high. He just wants to sell more oil. And from what I've seen from the reports, the latest reports that I've seen on Reuters and everything, it does work. He is succeeding in bullying.
No, he's not. See, these are all, none of those reports, Tatiana, are authenticated. None of those reports are authenticated. Mohandas Pai wants to come in quickly. Mohandas Pai, briefly, before I go to the others.
Arnab, America consumes 20 million barrels of oil a day, only digs up $13 billion of barrels a day. It exports maybe 3.5 million barrels. So America is not a very large exporter, but the largest manufacturer of oil, but it consumes more, and the balance it imports from Canada and other countries. I'm just giving data.
Yeah, I'm just going to Victor Gao here. Victor Gao.
One second, just a very quick comeback to the question that you actually asked. Why is America not stopping trade with Russia? Because all of the things that you listed, especially the fertilizers, they can't replace those with something made in the US. And the US crops will suffer.
Yeah. That's the point.
He's putting America first. He's just doing it in a very,
you see, you can't have this America first posture without the basics here of the ability to manufacture. You have your strengths, but your strengths are limited. Now, Victor, last time, Pastor Mark Burns got so angry. He loves Donald Trump. Anyone criticizes him, he can't take it. And then he attacks him and then he walks out of the program. But one very interesting point here, Victor. You see, what Eric Garcetti said, he was ambassador to India. Eric Garcetti said, that is Americans wanted India to buy Russian oil. Because he said, India bought Russian oil because we wanted someone to buy Russian oil at a price cap. It was not a violation. It was actually the design of the policy. Because as a commodity, we didn't want oil prices going up, and a big country like India buying a lot of Russian oil helped deleverage the rising oil prices. So this was the American policy. There is no other country of this size. The only country that can buy that much oil to influence prices is India. So America last year wanted India to buy Russian oil. This year, they don't want India to buy Russian oil. Not that we would listen to them. But, Pastor, it makes no sense. You have to have something called consistency.
It's a different president.
Yeah, he may want, but he's not the president of India or the prime minister of India. My prime minister decides.
Arnab, thank you very much for having
Victor Gao from Beijing, from Singapore. Go on.
what is happening now is President Trump is holding a gun at the head of India, demanding India's surrender, expecting India to be weak and vulnerable. But he doesn't really expect that India is strong, and it is only a decision made by the Indian government and the Indian people as to whether, how, where they want to buy their oil from. Nobody can stop India from buying oil from Russia. The sanctions imposed on Russian oil are not sanctions adopted by the United Nations Security Council. It is just a sanction adopted by one country, and the expected extraterritoriality of such sanctions is a violation of India's sovereignty and territorial integrity. So I think Trump expects that India will chicken out, but India is strong, and I have full sympathy for India's position, and no one should expect that India should be weakened or collapsing, for example, in front of such maximum pressure from Washington. And by issuing ultimatum to proud countries like India, it is a calculation on Trump's side. Now, I think what Trump is doing is launching this anti-the-world tariff war against almost all the countries in the world, and he expects most of the countries to succumb to the maximum pressure from the United States. China will not succumb to such pressure, and I believe India will not, and we will figure out our own way as to how to deal with the maximum pressure from India from the Chinese perspective. We want to talk with the United States to calm down the situation. But if the United States continues to pick a fight with China, China is fully prepared to see complete winding down to zero of the two-way trade between China and the United States. Meaning, if the United States does not want China to export goods to the United States, then there will be no more goods to be exported by the United States to China. This is how China is dealing with the maximum pressure from the United States. China defends free trade. And I hope India will do the same thing. Defending free trade is the right thing for most of the countries in the world today to do. And it is only a decision up to be decided by the Indian people themselves as to whether, how much they want to buy oil from Russia. No other country has a legitimate say in stopping India's decision in this regard.
Well, Pastor, before I come to you, just one small observation, and then you and Alexander Shajan can respond. See, this can work with, we can work with some African countries. It can work with some countries in Southeast Asia, not all. It can work with Europe because they have their limitations and slowing down of growth. It can even work with Japan because, it's a slowing down economy. They have pressures, but they fooled you because they put in a promise of investment which they are not going to fulfill. Everyone knows that. Now, the question is, where is America losing, Pastor? America is losing militarily with Russia, geopolitically with Russia, and America is unable to push India and China economically. Three big countries. There is no success with China. You just heard Victor Gao. You don't want to trade with us, don't go trade with us. We're not dying to. It's not working with Putin, who says, I will fulfill my geostrategic objectives, whether you like it or not. You want to quarrel, I'll send Medvedev to quarrel with you every second day. I'm not even going to engage with you. That itself, and it's not working with Narendra Modi, who is saying, thank you very much. We're a large economy, we've got a good domestic base, and we have partners all around the world. Now, Pastor, what happens? What happens?
Well, first of all, since you told everybody I walked off your show yesterday, I walked off because you were rude and you cutting me off, and hopefully we have that solved. As a professional journalist that you are, you would give somebody actual opportunity to complete their sentences. So long as we have that understanding, I'm a happy debater. Now, regarding the U.S., first of all, India is a powerful nation. And I want to be very clear. No one thinks that India is a pushover. By no means. India is a partner of the United States of America and one of our allies. It is very challenging in the situation that we find ourselves regarding Russian oil. Russian oil makes up about 30 to 35% of total Russian GDP. And so when we damage Russia's ability to sell oil, we damage their ability to wage war. This is not a punishment on the great nation of India. This is simply the president doing what he ran on and what he won on, which is holding our partners accountable. One of the gentlemen mentioned about free trade, and that is great to have free trade, but also we have to have fair trade. The reality is this. There's a big talk game that happens, and yes, India is a powerful nation. Yes, India can decide what they want to do. Nobody can make them do whatever they want to do. But the reality is India depends heavily on the massive U.S. economy market that you have access to. It is a massive part of your technology, a massive part of your semiconductors that you depend on, the manufacturing that you depend on. It carries a heavy weight of what what India is doing in your own economy with the massive poverty that you're dealing with in your own nation. And so nobody can make India do anything. It is a powerful, great nation. I love India. There's beautiful people there. I've been there twice and hope to come back again. But the reality of it is economically, if you are supporting the dictator of Russian oil to help wage war against the Ukrainians, 20,000 children are missing, have been kidnapped because of this. People are dying at the average of 5,000 to 6,000 a day at the hands of the Russian aggressor. Churches and mosques and synagogues have all been destroyed, places of faith. Hindu have been killed, destroyed, all because of the Russian aggression that is happening in Ukraine. And the president is simply holding our friends accountable for helping us stop this aggression. Yes, India is powerful. Yes, India is strong. But again, India does depend heavily on the U.S. markets. And if the tariffs keep going up, that's going to impact your bottom line. Yes, there are other people that you can do business with, but there is no market like the United States market, and nations who lose access to it historically and will consistently will lose. And so this is not the president trying to wave a big stick. He's simply holding
Pastor,
our
can I ask you a counter question without your walking out? A small counter question without you walking out. If you love Ukraine so much,
I won't walk out if you don't cut me off. It's real simple, sir. So don't insult me on your show. I would not be insulted by you cutting me off.
Where am I insulting you?
As long as you allow me to talk.
I am not insulting you. You are Donald Trump's spiritual lead guide. How can I insult you? Though I wonder what kind of spiritualism you teach him, but I'll just ask you a question here. If you love the people of Russia so much that you're so angry with India for buying people of Ukraine so much that you're angry with India for buying Russian oil, then why don't you let Ukraine enter the NATO? Why are you saying I will not let Ukraine enter NATO? Why is it, if you love the people of Ukraine so much, that just after his spat with Zelensky in the Oval Office, Donald Trump ordered a complete stop on all shipments of US military aid to Ukraine? Did you not think of Ukrainian children then?
Well, absolutely did not, and I've been very open about that.
So then you are using Ukrainian children. Then you are using Ukrainian children as an argument.
Let me finish my statement. You asked me a question. Now let me give a complete statement. I'm very on the record. I'm MAGA as MAGA can be, and I'm very much on the record for saying that I did not support Ukraine. I did not support the war. I did not support sending more money or weapons to Ukraine when Americans are suffering.
Yes, and why lecture us using Ukrainian children as an argument point?
It took me going to Ukraine and seeing for myself. Instead of just listening to the news and listening to the reels that you see on social media, it took me going to Ukraine to discover that what I've been told, even from those who are on the right, have been completely wrong. That's what shifted my opinion of Ukraine. Seeing the people for myself.
And to help the people of Ukraine, you are buying uranium hexafluoride from Russia.
killing that
to
is
help the
happening at
children
hands
of Ukraine. You are
for
buying
myself.
palladium
Seeing
from
the
Russia,
20,000
fertilizers and
kidnapped
everything.
children for myself.
Tatiana is
Seeing the
countering you.
700
Tatiana,
religious
I'm opening the debate. Tatiana from Moscow is countering him.
For myself. Seeing these things happen
Pastor,
for my
I'm not the
changed
debate
my
coordinator.
opinion
I can
of how
insult
I
and
support
interrupt you.
Ukraine, and that shifted me
And I'm also
significantly.
Russian, so I'm allowed. Did you go to Donbass for kicks? Did you see the
Why did
people on the
Russia
other
attack
side who were
Ukraine?
dying for 8 years before Russia
Why
stepped
did Russia
in?
attack Ukraine? Why?
Do you know
you
what
support
was
Russia.
happening before the war?
Why did Russia attack Ukraine? Why is Russia killing
Because
innocent
Ukraine
women?
was
Why is
killing
Russia bombing
people.
civilian? Why
Because
is Russian
Ukraine was
bombing
killing civilians. Can you read on the, at least read the background information? Do you know what was
I
happening?
read the
in
background
Donbass region
information, and I
before
know that Ukraine is a sovereign nation, and they desire to be separate, independent, without the corruption from Russia, from the Kremlin. Even the church has been affected. The Russian Orthodox Church is impacted by the Kremlin. The people just want to be free. They just want to be separate and independent. They don't want to be dictated by Vladimir Putin. And to be honest with you, I thought that Vladimir Putin was a Christian that I wanted to be. I wanted Russia to be friends. I spoke so many times
I
on the
can talk
news
for as
how
long as you
powerful it
can.
could be
I am a
if we
white
could
woman.
become
I will
friends with
talk
Russia.
over you
But the
for as long
reality
as
of
you
it
want
is,
me to.
Russia
I am a
is killing
journalist.
innocent
I can
people.
talk for a very long time until you actually stop and listen.
I'm a preacher, and I can talk for a very long time. You give me the microphone in the audience,
Yeah.
I'll talk for a
Okay,
very
we can
long
talk
time.
till the end of the debate until Arnab shuts it down.
No, it's okay. You guys have fun. I'm enjoying this. My point is, Tatiana, look at it from my point of view. 1 minute.
Why was Ukraine killing people?
No, let me.
Why was Ukraine killing people?
No, 1 minute. Tatiana, 1 minute. Tatiana and Pastor Mark Burns.
The heads off of innocent people right now?
Pastor 1 minute. Pastor 1 minute. Listen to me.
Okay, all
Pastor
right.
1 minute. Now, Alexander, there is Mohandas Pai sitting in Bengaluru. It's a fantastic city. Silicon Valley of India, very high-tech, wonderful. And he's a great thinker, economist, investor, and entrepreneur. He's a very balanced person, Mohandas Pai. If you've noticed him. And there's Victor Gao, though I fight with him very often. He's sitting in Singapore, the heart of the Asian economic engine. See, what people in China and India are saying today, that Alexander, whatever problem you guys are having, you're having a problem with Russia, deal with Russia. You're having a problem about handling Ukraine, why are you dragging India and China into your problem? The other day, Alexander, I saw the Chinese envoy at the United Nations tell the American envoy that why are you telling people not to do what you do yourself?
Exactly.
See, you have no answer. You want to use two large economies in the world to fight your wars. And China and India are saying, we are not going to get involved, Alexander. Why should we get involved? It's not our problem, right?
See, let me tell you this. I am proud of my Indian heritage, okay? As much as I am a naturalized US citizen who is able to vote in the US, who is allowed to be in the US politics, I am proud of my Indian heritage. I love India. Both my parents are buried in India. I just came back from India a week ago. My father passed away. I buried him there. I came back and I'm still going back at least every 2 to 3 months. My family lives there. I love India. So I'm very disappointed on the current situation and the outcome of all these tariff trade war. Yeah. And I seriously believe President Trump is also not happy with the outcome. Mr. Arnab was saying that why President Trump is obsessed with India. He is discouraged or he is disappointed or he is depressed. No, he is not depressed. I'm sure he is obsessed with India because India is a strong economy. India is United States' best friend. So he definitely loved the nation. He definitely loved the leadership there. But none of us, including I don't think anybody disagree with me. None of us are happy with the outcome right now. Okay, that's my opening statement. But let me tell you this. President Trump, you said that out of the superior national interest that India definitely take decision. And I agree with that. We have the right to do that. India has the right to do that, to make India great, to keep Indian products first. You have the right and you should do that. And that's what Prime Minister Narendra Modi is doing, just like what President Trump is doing here. For American people, he wants to
but this time he is not being able to push through. Alexander, this time he is not able to push through. That's the point.
No, we can't say that.
He's not. See, there are certain limits to being pushed by America. I can tell you, even on the trade deal.
Mr. Arnab, early to say that. Too early to make that statement. I will defend that. Too early to make that statement. He is been imposing tariffs on countries.
I'll tell you so. See, Alexander, Mohandas Pai, I'll tell you. If America wants to take on India, let them start by including the pharma sector on tariffs. America has saved $1.3 trillion because of Indian medicines. Let him put a ban on that. See, you guys think sitting in America only you have leverage. I want Mohandas Pai to put it in context. We have leverage too. Our consumer market is going to grow by 46% by 2030. We have leverage. You want to be here. You don't want to fight with India all the time. I want Mohandas Pai to put this. He can share the numbers better with you. Mohan.
Mohan. India is a $4 trillion economy. America is a $32 trillion economy. The only economic giant in the world is a great country. We have to accept that the great country is the most open society in the world, is the largest market in the world. Everybody wants to export there. And sadly or rightly, everybody in the world wants to go live there because they think it's paradise. Greatest opportunity for students is in America. We must keep it in mind. Now, let's also understand one important thing. America has an economic problem. It has $1.3 trillion of deficit in goods, $2 trillion of budget deficit. All right. Everybody is pushing goods into America, and much of the world is putting up tariffs against America. So President Trump is right in saying that you must open up your market if you want to come to our market. I agree with him. From the America first point, what he's doing is right. The only dispute you could have is how is he doing it? He's doing it like people said, in the business way, by threatening, cajoling, pushing, bullying, everything he can do to get a deal. And President Trump, being very smart, knows very clearly he's got a short period of time before the world turns against him. Maybe the mid-term elections come, or maybe he loses the House. He doesn't know the politics, what happens. It's the last term that he's going to have 4 years. In 6 months, he wants to clean up, get America back. And in the June quarter, Arnab, he got $100 billion of tariff income. He had $25 billion of budget surplus as against a deficit of 44. He was able to reform America, cut America's debt, cut the trade deficit. Is good for the world because America's growth and America being open as a large economy is very good for global growth. Almost all countries in the world in the last 50 years have grown by trading with America because the American market has been very open. Look at China. China became an economic giant after joining WTO and trading with America. That is the point. Now, let me finish. 1 moment, let me finish. Victor. So I think we must understand that. But he is playing hardball. His style is very different. And I don't think he's humiliating India doing it. It's just the way that man is built. He's just built that way. Like the American Republicans said, we have to keep quiet. We must not join issue like Russia is doing it, Medvedev. You must just negotiate behind the thing. Talk to him and see what are the best deal we can do. The best deal right now on the table is 15% tariff if you want to sell to America, 0% tariff if you want to sell, if you want America, and America 0% tariff on their goods. I mean, China is also negotiating hard. We don't know what China will do. The Chinese are playing hardball. They're a very strong economy, the second largest economy in the world, the largest exporter in the world, maybe the largest importer, largest foreign currency reserve. It is 30% of global manufacturing. So I think, we have to negotiate and take the emotion off the table. I know we are all hurt. We feel humiliated. We are very angry. We are very upset.
No, we're not angry at all. No, 1 minute. Mohan, we're not angry. I don't think that's the right word. I think we are amused because the worst thing that you can do, and I have Derek Grossman joining us right now, and Derek is a fantastic defense analyst from RAND, certainly not in favor with Trump's policies. I think he's from Washington, D.C. Now, we are not upset or angry. We're amused because I think the mistake, Derek, that Trump does is that he sets his own deadlines.
Yeah.
He responds very quickly. You know, he says, tomorrow I will take on India, tomorrow I will take on China. You know, he's moving very fast, and eventually, he may not like this, given what he said to Zelensky, he's going to run out of his cards. He's going to run out of cards if we hold firm and play for time. What do you think, Derek? What should India do?
Yeah. Hi, Arnab. Hi, everybody. Sorry, I was a little late. And also, just a clarification, I'm no longer with RAND. I'm with the University of Southern California. But yeah, it's good to be with you this evening in India. I would say that Trump is all about deadlines, and they come and go, right? And it'll be very interesting to see what happens with this particular 24-hour deadline. My sense of it is that his response is mostly going to be performative in nature, that he'll say publicly that, you know, at the last moment, India and I have agreed to something, even if India kind of shakes its head and says, what are you talking about? We never agreed to anything. And then he can wash his hands of it and move on. That is what I think is going to happen here. Also, keep in mind, he's been kind of bristly toward the idea of him, you know, tacoing in this particular case, or really, you know, across the board, right? So that's the Trump always chickens out reference. And so I think, you know, when the U.S. decided to strike nuclear targets in Iran, that was, some of it was pushing back on that taco narrative. So it'll be very interesting to see how he responds here. But I think he's kind of painted himself into a bit of a corner. And again, that's why I think the performative aspect will come out.
Yeah, I think that's how I would. I think the feeling here is, Derek, at least here in informed circles in India, is that the best way to deal with Trump is to play for time. A, because one has to see where his own political career is going. Again, Pastor may not like it, Richie may not like it, the Epstein case, the other cases. He's on a sticky wicket politically in the US. And I'm not just talking about what's in the media. Secondly, there is a feeling here, Richie, that he will self-combust if he continues like this. Unless he slows down, unless his closest advisors, J.D. Vance, somebody tells him, slow down, you are dealing with larger countries. The same approach you have for a smaller country may not work for a Russia, an India, or a China. Do you think he'll have to have a change of tack out here, Richie?
No, not at all.
No?
In fact, I think he's basking in the sunlight right now. He's basking in popularity. You know, he was given a mandate. He has not only control of the Republicans, not only control of the executive branch, the presidency, but also both houses of Congress and the Senate. So this is a different situation than we saw in Trump version 1 back in 2017 to 2020. And he's dealing with what America has wanted, that's given him the mandate, that has voted for him, put him into power, and put equally the members of Congress also under all this massive control. And the courts here in America too have also given him a lot of favor as well, and they have ruled for his agenda. They have gotten his agenda has been frequently targeted by lawsuits which make their way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court mostly has ruled in his favor.
But then there's a mismatch here.
Energy. It's an energy that's moving forward. It's a mandate. He has thumbs up from the majority of Americans in many different aspects. Not everything, we know that. He's fine-tuning, and he's also working hard to fix what we have suffered from over the last 4 years under Biden.
No, but you know.
That's
okay,
why
so
things are very different than they were before.
But you see, you can't push your way with the world. I'll give you one example.
Let me add to this, Arnab.
Let me give one example here, Alexander. Let me give one example here. The Trump administration has granted 60 billion extra US dollars in farm subsidies in the recent tax bill. Okay? But you are saying to the Indian government that we want you to compromise your agriculture sector. We want you to compromise Indian farmers. But we will be protectionist about American farmers. Now, that doesn't make sense. Agriculture is employment. So, you know, you can't push your way on that. You have to appreciate the fact that other countries, other leaders have their own interests to take care of. I'd like Victor to comment on that. Victor?
No, let me tell you this.
First of all, I think you are raising an important question. I think we all need to ask President Trump, please tell the American people who will pay the tariffs that he's so eager to charge against all these countries which export to the United States. Fundamentally, the tariffs President Trump is charging will be paid by the American people. It's a kind of a tax against the American people. Now, Trump 1.0 didn't tell the American people the truth. Biden didn't tell the American people the truth. Trump now 2.0 refuses to have the decency and the dignity to tell the American people who will pay the tariffs. Let me tell you the truth. The American people will pay the tariffs. It's a ripoff of the American people. Just now, one of the panelists talked about billions of dollars in tariffs. It is paid by the American people. So we should tell the American people, and President Trump should have the decency and the dignity to tell the American people that the American people are paying all these tariffs. It's a complete disruption of international trade. It will not make America great, for example. It will make America belittled because of its danger and undermining of international free trade. So, unless President Trump will stand on firm ground that the tariffs he will charge will be paid by countries like China or India or EU as a whole, otherwise he's telling lies to the American people. I think we can expose this lie for the benefit of the American people, so they will know for sure that they are being ripped off by these tariffs.
So let me just respond to him.
They are paying higher prices, but they are paying the tariffs.
So what's not a lie is this. India, again, is one of my favorite countries to visit. I have a lot of friends there. Those are in politics, those that are Hindus or Muslims or Christians. I absolutely love India. As President Trump said, Prime Minister Modi is a friend. Let me just say this, but what is the truth? The truth is this. Nobody can force India to do anything, and I've already stated that in my earlier comment. In India, economy is absolutely rising, and that is good for the impoverished people that are in India. There's millions of them, and so this is good news for those people on a humanitarian basis. But the reality is this. The United States economy is 7 times larger than India. India is not at a direct competition. And I know that those that may not like that truth, but this is the reality. 28.7
Yeah, but the reality
billion,
also is, I'll just caution you there. One minute, just 1 minute. Just one, Pastor, I'll take 10 seconds. I'll take 10 seconds, sir. I'll take 10 seconds, sir. I'll take only 10 seconds, Pastor.
I'm done. Let me finish a complete
10 seconds, Pastor. Give it 20 years. Give it 25 years. We'll be a bigger economy than the Americas.
Your economy
you know that.
is not in competition with the United States.
No, but 25 years you will not be in competition with us.
We consume
Sir,
more
25 to 30 years, you will be smaller than the Indian economy.
More than your entire
Sir, I'm not even talking purchasing power parity.
We spend more than your entire economy. So
yeah, but 30 years pass quickly.
And India benefits directly. So if the tariffs
if I were to tell you 30 years back,
American people may suffer.
Pastor, you're getting emotional. You heard what Mohandas Pai said. Don't be emotional.
This is a America First mission. This is about being fair and fair and fair. It's that simple. And so you can talk the big game.
Mohan, I think you'll have to tell him. Mohan, I think he got carried away with what you said. You must also tell him.
Consumers spend more than the India's entire GDP.
Pastor, 1 minute. Pastor, if I told you, if I told you.
I was going to make this statement. You know, this administration will continue to use all available and necessary tools to protect our national security and advance our economic interest and uphold a system of trade.
Good for you, but it doesn't apply to everyone.
There is no doubt about it.
No, good
there
for
is no
Mohan
doubt
wanted
about it.
good for you, but it won't apply to us. We don't need to follow your line.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Mohan,
That's
briefly,
what I'm saying.
Mohan.
India has all the right to
Mohan,
do that.
Mohan.
India has all the right to do that, and we
Okay, got that. Mohan.
Arnab,
Mohan versus Pastor.
Arnab, we have to be smart like China and work with the US so we can sell more to America and become great again. America wants to be great again, which is very good. America is a great nation, and it will always be the greatest nation on the planet for a long time. India wants to be a great nation. We must export more to America, open up our market to America with very less tariff, get all those Harley Davidsons in. Why do you charge 75%? Get them a free duty. We'll all enjoy this Harley Davidson. We want the Teslas to come in. Let us get it in and let us sell more to America. And let us be as big as China. China grew by trade. We should grow by trade. We should also deal with America.
I have no problem in trading more and doing more business. But the line comes. One sec. The line comes. What? Just
Anna, we have to be smart enough to.
I got your point. I'd like Victor to respond to that. Mohandas Pai is saying we must do a China on America. We must do what China did on America. India must do it with America next, which means use America. Yeah.
But
I
China
think
is caving
India
to,
is a rising nation.
China
India
is
will
caving
catch
to.
up
China
with most
is
of the
negotiating
countries in
and
the world
caving to the
in a matter
economy of America.
Victor,
So yes, they're the second largest.
Victor.
They too are caving to America.
However, we all need to see the truth. The truth is the United States is in a dilemma because on the one hand, the US dollar is still the dominant currency.
Closing.
And by logic, the US need to suffer a trade imbalance. They need to suffer a trade deficit. So if they want to enjoy a trade surplus, for example, then they need to keep up the US
I think it's a very exciting moment. It'll be very interesting, Derek. Derek, going to be very interesting which way India goes. In next 2 months, India
is growing.
1.0.
India economy is growing.
Derek, quick word from you because you came in last.
They have to have one or the other, but not.
Yeah, Derek.
Hey, I'm gonna say something that Victor Gao is actually gonna like, and maybe we agree upon for once, and that is, if this continues, right? If the Trump administration continues to cause trade frictions with India, I think that India is going to benefit from India increasingly pivoting toward China, right? I think you're going to see more of an interaction between India and China. They recently settled their border dispute in October of last year.
Yeah.
And then deepening the ties with Russia as well. We're already seeing Russia embrace that
So
idea.
that's an interesting point. I agree with you to some extent, not completely there. But I thank you very much, everyone. This has been a very interesting and very fascinating discussion. Main point I want to wrap up with, we are playing the great power game. And as we play the great power game, there will be more challenges and opportunities like this. See you tomorrow. Good night and goodbye.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.
In the Global Employability Rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
पैसा लगाना है तो सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम पे लगाओ, डूबेगा नहीं, जलेगा भी नहीं, कोई खा नहीं जाएगा, धोखा नहीं देगा, ऊपर नीचे भी नहीं होगा, सेफ रहेगा, सिक्योर्ड में मिनिमम 30 साल का रिटर्न देगा। अब इससे बेटर इन्वेस्टमेंट है तो बताओ। सेंचुरी क्लब प्राइम, रहो बेफिक्र।
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
Sarah, this is your space, play it your way.
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
MDH